Alright, this is Mr. Reed, and as you can see right now, I am on our class website. You'll notice over in this area we have something called Election Center. Now, one of your first activities is to do what's called the VoteEasy task. You can see the description right in here, and right up here is VoteEasy. What you'll do is you'll click on this, and this tool helps us answer some questions that may tell us who we do or do not want to vote for. You'll probably want to turn the sound off so you don't annoy your classmates too. Always a good idea. Alright, so you can see that right now I chose president. There is also one for our legislative seats. If I go back, I can show you that too. Open it up in a new tab. So running for president right now, we have, of course, many of you know, Barack Obama, the Democrat, and Mitt Romney, the Republican. What you might not know is there are a number of other candidates too from what we call the third party. So you have Gary Johnson, he's a libertarian. You have Rocky Anderson from the Justice Party, Virgil Goode and Jill Stein. If we look over here at the legislature, and it'll take a minute, you are in Maine District 1, which means we're voting on a new senator to replace Olympia Snowe. The three main candidates are Angus King, Cynthia Dill, and Charlie Summers. These other three are also running, but they are not considered to be kind of the best. They are probably not going to win. And running for House District 1 is our current representative, Shelley Pingree. She's a Democrat, as you can see right here, and her opponent is John Courtney. What you will notice is all these questions at the top are the same as they are in the presidential series. So as I tell you what they mean, you can answer them for both. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each category, say the question, explain what it means, so hopefully you can make a good choice. So the first question is on abortion. This is a very sticky issue for a lot of people because it's a very personal issue. The question asks, do you generally support pro-choice or pro-life legislation? You might say, what does that mean? Abortion is the right for a woman to end her pregnancy, to terminate it. If you are pro-choice, you believe in allowing a woman to make that decision. If you are pro-life, you believe abortion should be banned. So you believe that you should not be allowed to terminate your pregnancies. If this isn't a question you want to answer, because quite frankly you don't have an opinion, you can simply hit the X. Now let's take this one in Afghanistan. Do you support United States combat operations in Afghanistan? Basically it's asking, do you support the war in Afghanistan? Now, I'm not going to give you my opinion, I'm just going to randomly select answers as we go. But if I said yes, I support the war, you'll notice two candidates also support the war and they jumped right forward. Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. How can that be? I think they're very different. Well, what you'll find out is as we answer more questions, we're going to see some separation here. Budget. In order to balance the budget, do you support reducing defense spending? So the budget is the amount of money that our government spends. So in order to balance it so that the money we take in taxes is the same as the money we spend, they're asking, do you support reducing the amount of money we give to our military? Again, random answer. And you can say how important it is. If you really think we shouldn't reduce spending on military, click vary and see it adjust. So now Barack Obama is only a match to me for, I think that says 33%, and Mitt Romney is 100%. You also notice this lacks courage message. What that means is that they didn't fill out the survey for VoteEasy. VoteEasy had to go do the work. Notice now that there are 5 budget questions based on these little dots up here. In order to balance the budget, do you support a tax increase on any tax bracket? So do you believe we should raise taxes? And again, I'm just randomly answering here. And I'll make it somewhat important. In order to balance the budget, do you support reducing Medicaid spending? Medicaid is like health insurance for people who don't have it, for people who are less fortunate. So do you support reducing that? Again, I'm just making up answers here. In order to balance the budget, do you support reducing Medicare spending? Same idea, but instead of for people who say are less fortunate, this is healthcare spending on the elderly. And is balancing the budget an administrative priority? In other words, do you believe we should have to balance the budget, should be our top priority? Now I can move on. The economy. Economy is the amount of money we spend. Basically, it's how are people doing with jobs. Do you support federal spending as a means of promoting economic growth? What that means is, do you think the government should spend money to help make the economy better? Do you support providing tax incentives for businesses to create jobs? That's kind of what it sounds like. Do you support making sure, or basically giving businesses money back on their taxes if they create jobs? Do you support spending on infrastructure? Infrastructure is things like roads, bridges, highways, telephone wires, that sort of thing is considered infrastructure to create jobs. Sure. Education. Do you support requiring states to implement education reforms in order to be eligible for competitive federal grants? It is a mouthful, but basically it's saying, do you think the government should tell the states how to do their job and then give them money if they do it? You can see there's a details button here, which kind of gives you some more information. So that's another way, besides just listening to my voice, to find out what's going on. Do you support reducing restrictions on offshore energy production? Basically, do you think we should be allowed to drill for oil? Reducing restrictions, allowing more people to drill for oil in the ocean. The environment. Do you support regulation of greenhouse gas emissions? Those are the things that cause global warming, things like carbon dioxide. So do you support regulating them? There we go. Now you'll notice everyone kind of jumps around when I answer a question because they're kind of ranking them. How similar are they to me? And again, I've just randomly answered them, but right now Barack Obama is my best match with 75%. Do you support restriction on the purchase and possession of guns? Second Amendment. Do you believe we should have some restrictions on guns? Yes or no? Healthcare. Do you support repealing the 2010 Affordable Care Act? That's Obamacare. It requires that everyone get health insurance, and it also expands things like Medicaid. So do you support repealing it? Yes or no? And then you can also ask, should individuals be required to purchase health insurance? So in other words, should you have to have health insurance? Yes or no? All right, immigration is people coming to our country from other countries. Do you support requiring illegal immigrants, which are immigrants who come here without permission, they tend to sneak in, to return to their country of origin before they are eligible for citizenship? In other words, if someone comes from Canada and doesn't come legally, do you think we should require that they go back to Canada first before they become a U.S. citizen? Marriage. This is a big issue in Maine this year. We're voting on it. Do you support same-sex marriage? It's kind of self-explanatory. Again, randomly answer yes or no, and the candidates shuffle a bit. National security. So this is talking about how safe we are here. Do you support targeting, which means basically killing suspected terrorists outside of official theaters of conflict? In other words, do you approve that the United States should be able to kill terrorists even if they're not in a war zone? For instance, right now in a country like Yemen, if we found there was a terrorist in Yemen, should we be allowed to send a missile to blow up their house? Last one is on Social Security. Social Security is a system where when you work, you pay into it, and everyone does this, and you're paying into Social Security because when you retire, the idea is that that money then gets returned to you as a retirement income. It came out of FDR's New Deal right around the time of World War II to make sure our retirees had a form of income. So this is asking, do you support allowing individuals to divert, which means take money and put it somewhere else, a portion of their Social Security taxes into personal retirement accounts? In other words, instead of having the government pay for Social Security through your Social Security taxes, do you support taking some of that money and putting it into your own account that can be invested in the bank or in stocks and bonds? Again, yes or no. And you'll see at the end, I'm finished here. You don't need to see, help us if you can. It does say finished. You're going to pick a best match. And then if you go back to your requirements, you'll notice that there were some directions about emailing me your best match and talking about whether you were surprised who they were. You'll probably want to go along and answer these questions at the same time. Hopefully you've done that. And you'll email me your match on these two races also. All right. I hope this helped you understand the questions. If you have any more, please don't hesitate to ask me.